good morning. We have already discussed the concept of law of demand. It explains more is demand at very low price and less is demanded at higher price. It means when the price is increases, the demand is decreases. When the price is decreases, the demand is increases. Okay. So law of demand states that other thing remaining constant. When the price is increases, the quantity demand is decreases. The price is decreases, the quantity demand is increases. Is known as law of demand. In the today class, we discuss on the very important topic, that is elasticity of demand. It's very important question in 6 marks. Okay, 6 marks, 2 marks, and also 1 marks. The concept of elasticity of demand, it is an index of reaction. It is an index of reaction. Okay, so the concept of elasticity of demand is an index of reaction. It measures the responsiveness of change in one variable to change in another variable. So the responsiveness of change in one variable to another variable. Okay, so the elasticity of demand is the index of reaction. It measures the responsiveness of change in one variable to change in another variable. One variable in the another variable ಯಾವ changes ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ measures ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನೇ elasticity of demand. Okay, so elasticity of demand is the responsiveness of change in one variable to change in another variable. It also defined, elasticity of demand is generally defined as, it's very important question in 1 mark. So elasticity of demand is generally defined as the responsiveness of change in demand in one of its determinants while other determinants remaining constant. Okay, listen carefully. Elasticity of demand is generally defined as a responsiveness of change in demand to one of its variable while other variables or determinants remaining constant is known as the elasticity of demand. What are the determinants of demand? There are 4 determinants of demand. First one, the price of a good, the price of other good, consumer income, taste and preferences. There are the 4 important determinants of demand. So elasticity of demand alli demand change agutte, adu one of the determinants in the demand change ಆದರೆ it's called the elasticity of demand. Okay, so elasticity of demand index of reaction body explain ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ elasticity ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. changes in elasticity ಅಂತ explain ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದು ಏನು ಜನರಲಿ ಏನು ಡಿಫೈನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, so elasticity of demand is generally defined as the responsiveness of change in demand, of one of its determinants while other determinants remaining constant. Okay, so elasticity of demand is generally defined as it measures the responsiveness of change in demand of a good of one of its determinants. Demand change agutte, yaವಾಗ change agutte? One of its determinants. What are the determinants? There are four important determinants of demand. The first one is price of a good. The second one is price of other good, I mean related good. The third one is consumer income, and the fourth one is taste and preferences. ಈ four determinants one of the determinants ಇಂದಾಗಿ demand change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Other determinants ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓನ್ಲಿ ಈ four determinants ಏನಿದೆ ಈ four determinants ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು one of the determinants ಇಂದ demand change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. While other determinants ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ remaining constant ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ elasticity of demand. Understood? So elasticity of demand means responsiveness of changing demand. Demand changes ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, measure changes ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ್ದೆಲ್ಲ it's one of its determinants. Demand one of the determinants ಇಂದ change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ್ದು determinants ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಗುಡ್, ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅದರ್ ಗುಡ್ಸ್ and consumer income and taste and preferences. ಈ four determinants ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು one of the important determinants in the demand changes are there. It's called the elasticity of demand. It's very important question in 2 marks. What are the determinants of demand ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ. There are four important determinants of demand. One is price of good. Second one is price of other good. Third one is consumer income. Fourth one is taste and preferences. So, in four determinants, ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು one of the important determinants ಇಂದಾಗಿ demand change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. In other determinants ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ remain unchanged. There is no changes. ಏನು changes ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು ಮಾತ್ರ change ಆಗಿ remaining three ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. It is called the elasticity of demand. Okay, it's very important in 1 marks question. So, elasticity of demand is generally defined as the measures of responsiveness of changing demand of one of its determinants while other determinants remaining constant is called the elasticity of demand. Okay, so note it down. Next, concepts of elasticity of demand. Concepts of elasticity of demand. It's a very important question in 2 marks. There are mainly three important concepts of elasticity of demand. The first one is price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand. Okay. The second important concept of elasticity of demand is income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand. And the third one is cross elasticity of demand. Okay, so there are mainly three important concepts of elasticity of demand. The first one is price elasticity of demand, and the second one is income elasticity of demand, and the third one is cross elasticity of demand. Okay, it's very important question to us. Elasticity of demand is the measures the responsiveness of change in demand, one of its determinants, while other determinants remaining constant is called elasticity of demand. There are mainly three important concepts of elasticity of demand. The first one is price elasticity of demand. The second one is income elasticity of demand. And the third one is cross elasticity of demand. Okay. First, we will discuss on price elasticity of demand. So, the first concept, price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand means, the price and demand is inverse relationship between price and demand. There is a inverse. Okay, inverse relationship between price and demand. Demand and price मध्ये ಯಾವ relationship ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ inverse relationship. I mean indirect relationship between price and demand, because when the price is increases, the demand is decreases. Okay, when the price is increases, the demand is decreases. When the price is decreases, the demand is increases. Okay, so in the concept of price elasticity of demand ಅಲ್ಲಿ price ಮತ್ತು demand ಮಧ್ಯ ಯಾವ relationship ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ inverse relationship ಇದೆ, because when the price is increases, the demand is decreases. When the price is decreases, the demand is increases. So there is an inverse relationship between price and demand. Okay, so coming to the point, price elasticity of demand means, it's very important question in 1 marks. Price elasticity of demand means it measures the responsiveness of change, responsiveness of change in demand of a good, change in its price. Price indagi demand and changes are is called the price elasticity of demand. Okay, so price elasticity of demand means it measures the responsiveness of a demand for a good, to change in its price. Okay, in its price is called price elasticity of demand. It's very important question in 1 marks. Price elasticity of demand means it measures the responsiveness of demand for a good to change. Demand of a good ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವುದು change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? Price ಇಂದಾಗಿ demand changes ಆದರೆ is called price elasticity of demand. Very simple. Price ಇಂದ demand ಏನಾದ್ರು decrease ಆದರೆ increase ಆದರೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು changes ಆದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ price elasticity of demand. Okay, so price elasticity of demand means it measures the responsiveness of demand for a good to change in its price. Price in the demand changes is called price elasticity of demand. It can be calculated. The formula of price elasticity of demand is PD equals formula of price elasticity of demand. It's very important in 2 marks question. The formula of price elasticity of demand is PD equals delta Q divided by delta P into P divided by Q. Okay, it is the formula of price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand formula important case ಇದ್ರೆ 1 marks 2 marks question ಗೆ PD represent price elasticity of demand, delta Q represent change in quantity, okay, delta Q represent change in quantity ಮಾತ್ರ changes represent ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Delta P represent change in price, changes or change in price. Okay, P represent initial price, Q represent initial quantity, PED represent price elasticity of demand. Okay. It's very important question. 2 marks. Price 2 marks. What is price elasticity of demand and write the formula of price elasticity of demand. 2 marks question. So price elasticity of demand the responsiveness of demand for a good change in its price. Price in the demand changes are measured by the price elasticity of demand. The formula is PD equals delta Q divided by delta T into P divided by Q. Okay. In the formula, delta Q represent change in quantity, delta P represent change in prices, P represent initial means first price, Q represent initial quantity, P represent price elasticity of demand. Okay. Important question in 2 marks. So price elasticity of demand is measure the responsiveness of change in demand in prices. Prices in the demand and changes are is known as the price elasticity of demand. Okay, note it down. Next, in the price elasticity of demand, next topic, classification of price elasticity of demand. It's very important question in 6 marks. Classification of price elasticity of demand. Okay. Next very important topic, classification of price elasticity of demand. It's very important question in 6 marks. There are mainly 5 important classification of price elasticity of demand. Okay, there are 5 important classification of price elasticity of demand. The first one is perfectly elastic demand. Okay, the first classification is perfectly elastic of demand. The second classification is perfectly inelastic demand of demand. Okay, the third one is more elastic demand. And the fourth one is less elastic of demand, and the last fifth one is equal elastic of demand. Okay, so in the concept of classification of demand, there are 5 important classification of demand. It's very important question in 6 marks. The first classification of perfectly elasticity of demand is first is perfectly elastic of demand, and the second one is perfectly inelastic of demand, and the third one is more elastic of demand, and the fourth one is less elastic of demand, and the last one is equal elastic demand. Okay, first we will discuss perfectly elastic of demand. The first classification is perfectly elastic of demand. If the price is, perfectly elastic of demand means if the price is infinite. The price is infinite. the price elasticity of demand. PD means price elasticity of demand. If the price elasticity of demand is infinite or unlimited, then it is called perfectly elastic of demand. ED means elastic of demand. So perfectly elastic of demand means if the price elasticity of demand is infinite or unlimited, then it is called the perfectly elastic demand. Okay. In that case, price elastic demand to infinite agi unlimited changes whatever. Okay, if the price ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ changes demand unlimited agi changes are, then it is called the perfectly elastic of demand. Understood? So perfectly elastic of demand means the price elasticity of demand is infinite, unlimited. Demand unlimited agi infinite agi change ಆದರೆ, then it is called the perfectly elasticity of demand. Okay. We can explain in the help of the diagram. The concept na diagram explain ಮಾಡಿದ. In the diagram, OX axis, OY axis. In the OX axis represent quantity demand. Okay. OY axis represent price. Okay. DD. Okay. In the perfect elastic demand price demand to OX axis ಗೆ horizontal line. Okay, because prices ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ change demand ಅಲ್ಲಿ unlimited ಆಗಿ infinite ಆಗಿ change ಆದರೆ, that is called the perfectly elastic of demand. Very important. Perfectly elastic of demand means if the price elasticity of demand is infinite or unlimited, then it is called the perfectly elastic of demand. Here in the diagram, OX represents quantity demand, OX represents price. Here DD represents the demand flow. The DD represents demand flow is OX axis ke horizontal agide. Perfect elastic demand ಇಲ್ಲಿ demand flow ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, horizontal curve ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Horizontal curve. Here PD is infinity. PD ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, infinity ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಇನ್ಫಿನಿಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, OX axis ಗೆ ಹಾರಿಜಾಂಟಲ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಎಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಗೆ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಯಾವ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಹಾರಿಜಾಂಟಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. PD ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, ಇನ್ಫಿನಿಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್? ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಎಲಾಸ್ಟಿಸಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್. ನೋಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಡೌನ್. Next, the second one is the second classification of price elastic demand is perfectly inelastic demand. Second one is perfectly inelastic demand. Second type is perfectly inelastic demand. In the perfectly inelastic demand, in this case, the price elasticity of demand is zero. Then it is called the perfectly inelastic demand. Understood? Here, in the perfectly inelastic demand means if the price elasticity of demand is zero, then it is called the perfectly inelastic demand. So, if the price elasticity of demand is zero, then it is called the perfectly elastic demand. In this case, whatever may be changed in price, the demand is zero. Demand alli ಏನು changes ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, perfectly inelastic demand. Whatever may be changing price increase ಆಗಲಿ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಏನೇ ಆಗಲಿ, ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಝೀರೋ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಕಂಡುಬರಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನ ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಎಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಸೊ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಝೀರೋ, ಎಲಾಸ್ಟಿಸಿಟಿ ಪವರ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಝೀರೋ. ಇನ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ಫಿನಿಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲಾಸ್ಟಿಸಿಟಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿವ್ನೆಸ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ ಇದು ಝೀರೋ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇನ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ದ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರಿಮೇನ್ unchanged. Understood? So perfectly inelastic demand means if the price elasticity of demand is zero, then it is called the perfectly inelastic demand. Here whatever changes in price the quantity demand remain will be unchanged, constant. Okay, prices ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇ changes ಆದ್ರೂ quantity demand unchanged ಆಗಿದೆ, then it is called the perfectly inelastic demand. Okay, it can explain with the help of the diagram. In the diagram, OX axis, OY axis. Okay, in the diagram, O-axis represent quantity demand, O-axis represent price. In the diagram, DD represents demand curve. Demand curve is the vertical curve to O-axis. O-axis के vertical curve ಇದೆ. Prices ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇ changes ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ change ಆಗಲಿ decrease ಆಗಲಿ increase ಆಗಲಿ demand ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ remain unchanged. Demand curve ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು changes ಇಲ್ಲ. Price ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬರಲಿ decrease ಆಗಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋಗಿ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ಚೇಂಜ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ದ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಇನೆಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆದ್ರೂ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಇನೆಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಈ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ ವರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ವರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಕರ್ವ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. PD ಏನಾಗಿದೆ equals 0 because whatever change in price the quantity demand will be remain unchanged. That's why it is called the perfectly inelastic demand. Here demand curve is a vertical curve. In the last previous classification alli demand curve horizontal ಆಗಿತ್ತು, ಈಗ vertical curve. Okay, so the second classification of price elasticity demand is perfectly inelastic demand. If the price elasticity of demand is 0, then it is called the perfectly inelastic demand. Here whatever changes in price the quantity demand of a good remain unchanged. Okay, in other prices ಅಲ್ಲಿ 10% change ಆಗಲಿ 15 ಆಗಲಿ 20 ಆಗಲಿ ಏನೇ changes ಇದ್ರೂ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ತರದ changes ಅಂದ್ರೆ 0 ಆಗಿ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ perfectly inelastic demand. It can explain with the help of the diagram. In the diagram OX axis represent quantity demand, OY axis represent price. Here demand curve DD represents the demand curve. Demand curve is a vertical curve to the OY axis. Here PD price elastic demand equals 0 because whatever change in price the quantity demand is 0 unlimited. Okay, so next note it down. Next, third one is more elastic demand. The third type of price elasticity demand is more elastic demand. Okay, more elastic demand. If the price elasticity of demand is more than 1, then it is called the more elastic demand. Very important. In the more elastic demand means the price elasticity demand is more than 1. Elasticity ಯಾವುದು price elastic demand more than 1 ಗಿಂತ changes ಆದರೆ then it is called the more elastic demand. Here the price demand is lesser than the changes in demand. Okay, for example, price 10 ಅಲ್ಲಿ change ಆದರೆ demand 15 ಅಲ್ಲಿ changes ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so more than 1 or price 20 change ಆದರೆ demand 40 change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so here the demand is changes in more greater than the changes in the price. Price ಗಿಂತ demand more than ಆಗಿ changes ಆದರೆ it is called the more elastic demand. Okay, in the first one the demand to infinite ಆಗಿ I mean unlimited changes ಆಗಿದ್ದು. In second classification demand to zero. Whatever change in price ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು change ಇದ್ರು demand ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು changes ಇರಲ್ಲ, vertical ಬರುತ್ತೆ. In the third classification demand price ಗಿಂತನೂ ಕೂಡ more than 1 ಜಾಸ್ತಿ changes ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Price ಅಲ್ಲಿ changes 10 change ಆದರೆ demand ಅಲ್ಲಿ 15 change ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Price 20 change ಆದರೆ demand 40% changes ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, price ಗಿಂತ demand ಜಾಸ್ತಿ changes ಆದರೆ that is called the more elastic demand. Understood? Okay. It can explain with the help of the diagram. In the diagram, O-axis represent quantity demand. O-axis represent price. Price. Okay, listen. In the diagram, O-axis represent quantity demand, O-axis represent price. Okay, first price P into quantity Q into. For example, price is decrease ಆಗುತ್ತೆ price. P ಇಂದ P1 decrease ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಷ್ಟು decrease ಆದರೆ the quantity demand ಇಷ್ಟು increase ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Price ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಷ್ಟು ಮಾತ್ರ changes ಆದರೆ quantity demand ಅದು ಡಬಲ್ ಅಷ್ಟು changes ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿದೆಯಾ ನೋಡಿ, P ಇದು ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್, ಇದು ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ. ಈಗ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, P ಇಂದ P1 ಗೆ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಏನಿದೆ Q ಇಂದ Q1 ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಇಷ್ಟು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟು, ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಇಷ್ಟು. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, PD is greater than 1. ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಗಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಯಾವುದು, ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್. ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ದ more elastic demand. Understood? Here the demand for DD represents the demand. For demand is a flatter. DD is a flatter curve ಆಗಿದೆ. ಓಕೆ, in the more elastic demand ಅಲ್ಲಿ DD curve ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, flatter curve ಆಗಿದೆ. PD ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, greater than 1. Understood? So in the third classification of price elasticity demand is more elastic demand. More elastic demand means the price elasticity demand is more than 1, then it is called the more elastic demand. Here the change in quantity demand is greater than the change in price. Price ಗಿಂತ quantity demand greater than a change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Price ಅಲ್ಲಿ 10% change ಆದ್ರೆ quantity demand 20% change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Price 20% change ಆದ್ರೆ quantity demand 40% change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ more than 1 ಆಗಿದೆ, ಇದನ್ನ more elastic demand ಅಂತೀವಿ. It can explain with the diagram. In the diagram, O-axis represent quantity demand, O-axis represent price. P is the initial price, Q is the initial quantity. Initial and the first one. When the price is decreases, the quantity demand is increases. Same. Price only ಇಷ್ಟು decrease ಆಗಿದೆ, quantity demand ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು decrease ಆಗಿದೆ. So ಯಾವ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ, demand greater than ಇದೆ, price lesser than ಇದೆ. So PD ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, greater than 1. DD curve. In the diagram, DD represents the demand curve. The demand curve is the flatter curve. Okay. So first type, perfectly elastic demand. In the perfectly elastic demand only, price elastic demand is infinite or unlimited. Demand curve is horizontal curve. In The second type of classification is perfectly inelastic demand. In the perfectly inelastic demand is PED equals 0. The demand curve is the vertical curve. In the third is more elastic demand. More elastic demand is the PED is greater than 1. I mean the price elasticity of demand is more than 1. Then it is called more elastic demand. Here the demand curve is the flat. Okay. Remaining two types of classification of demand, price elasticity demand will be discussed on next class. Okay. Thank you.